Naruto descended to the ground, offering a sincere apology for losing control earlier. His voice was now heavy with authority. Today, the hatred of the 10 Tails, the greed of the Otsutsuki, and the will of the Shinobi have merged. They are all my strength now. He ran a hand over his head, noting the 2 small horns that had sprouted. He looked more like an Otsutsuki than a human now, a physical reminder of the price he had paid for this evolution. The war against the Kara organization was a landslide victory, but the endgame wasn't over. The real question was what to do with the scientists and the remaining inners, Amado and Ida. Even with his god-tier power, Naruto remained cautious. He didn't know if Ida's omnipotence or demon's reflection would still work on his new physiology. He drafted Kaguya for the negotiation, giving her a lethal set of rules of engagement. During the talk, I'm going to ignore Ida entirely, Naruto instructed Kaguya. If you see even a flicker of her charm affecting me, don't hesitate. Delete her instantly with your all-killing ash bones. The meeting took place in a high-security subterranean room in the Hidden Rain village. Amado was the first to speak, offering a calculated congratulation for deleting the nuisance that was Ishiki Otsutsuki. Naruto's response was ice cold. Ishiki wasn't a nuisance. He was just a speck of dust I needed to wipe off my boot. Ada, lounging on a sofa behind Amado with her legs crossed, couldn't stand Naruto's newfound arrogance. She chimed in with a mocking tone, telling him to stop acting like he was untouchable. Kaguya tensed her hands ready to strike, fearing the charm was taking hold, but Naruto didn't even look at Ida. He spoke with a brutal, dismissive tone. Did anyone give you permission to speak? Ida went numb. She was used to men falling at her feet, but Naruto had just treated her like she didn't exist. Damon, seeing his sister disrespected, flew into a rage and challenged Naruto to a fight if he had the guts. Naruto just smiled. A grown man doesn't get offended by the babbling of a child. He already knew Damon's secret. The reflection only worked if the attacker had the intent to kill. Against a man who viewed him as a mere child, Demon was powerless. Naruto laid out a single non-negotiable term for Amado: absolute protection and a place in the new world, provided the scientist dedicated his genius solely to Naruto's cause. To seal the deal, Naruto offered the one thing Amado had spent lifetimes chasing: the resurrection of his daughter. Naruto knew that Amado's intellect was the only thing on par with Orochimaru's research, a combination that would be the cornerstone of his defense against the coming Otsutsuki invasion. As the meeting drew to a close, Naruto issued a cold command. Amado was to strip Ada and Demon of their reality warping abilities. They were to live in the Hidden Rain village as ordinary citizens, under Naruto's absolute guarantee of safety, but without the power to threaten his reign. Though the terms were brutal, the hope of seeing his daughter again broke Amado's resolve. He gave his word. Throughout the exchange, Ada couldn't take her eyes off Naruto. Her charm, which had brought nations to their knees, didn't even cause a flicker in his gaze. For the first time, she had encountered a god who looked right through her. Instead of anger, a strange, frantic heartbeat took over. Naruto's utter indifference made him more magnetic and terrifying to her than any man she had ever known. Suddenly, Amado spoke, his voice clinical. Ida, Daimon, it's time to sleep. With a mechanical click, their systems bypassed, and both siblings slumped into unconsciousness. Amado was ready to begin the procedure to extract their dangerous Shinjutsu enhancements. As they stepped out of the high-security vault, Kaguya turned to Naruto, her eyes searching his. It seems that girl's enchantment truly has no hold over you. Naruto felt a bitter surge of both relief and sorrow. He realized the haunting truth. To hunt the monsters, the hunter had become the monster. His immunity to Ada's charm was the ultimate proof. He was no longer fully human. He had become the very Otsutsuki entity he had sworn to destroy. In the previous timeline, the Hidden Rain village had rotted away into a breeding ground for criminals and Kara outcasts. But today, Naruto had cauterized that wound. He had transformed the rain into a fortress of true peace and technological advancement. The stage was set, the internal threats were neutralized, and the god of Shinobi was now the undisputed power on the planet. But his greatest political challenge loomed on the horizon: the decisive confrontation with the Lord Daimyo of the 5 nations, who still believed they held the reins of the world. Naruto's ultimatum was clear. To prepare for the celestial threats of the future, Shinobi had to be liberated from petty, low-rank missions. Their entire existence needed to pivot toward elite training and planetary defense, with the bill footed by the 5 great nations. The stakes were astronomical. In response, the Lord Daimyo of the 5 nations convened an emergency summit in the neutral land of Iron. Predictably, the Lord's answer was a resounding no. The financial impact on their treasuries was a hit they weren't willing to take. Then, like a sudden storm, Sasuke Sasuke Uchiha breached the chamber. The samurai guards instantly formed a human shield around the lords. Those who remembered Sasuke's bloody rampage at the previous 5 Kage summit screamed warnings. Don't look into his eyes. Keep your head down and maybe you'll live through this. The air was thick with lethal tension, but Sasuke spoke with a terrifying, quiet calm. He assured them he wasn't there to shed blood. He revealed that he had been standing outside listening to every word of their greedy deliberations. In a world built on ego and profit, people only stand together when they face a common enemy, Sasuke said, his voice cutting through the room. You 5 are sitting here together only because you've decided the shinobi are a problem for your bottom line. He stepped closer, the clicking of his sandals echoing against the stone. But you're missing the most fundamental truth. Naruto Uzumaki and the Hidden Rain currently possess enough raw power to wipe you off the map in a heartbeat. Have you ever stopped to ask yourselves why he hasn't? The lords looked away, unable to meet his gaze. Sasuke traced the edge of his Rinnegan. To be honest, I wanted to handle this with force. It would have been cleaner, but Naruto stopped me. He didn't want to deepen the world's misunderstanding of him. Naruto grew up as an outcast, a ghost in his own village, yet he never cursed his fate. You, born into palaces and silk, could never fathom his pain. This is a man who choked down tears and expired ramen, but kept the most beautiful smile for the world to see. That boy saved this world from total erasure more times than you can count. He was everyone's hero. In his last life, he lived up to every expectation. He was the perfect idol, and he still lost. Sasuke's voice dropped to a whisper. That future ninja world was burned to ash. Everything was gone. But because of Naruto's stubborn refusal to give up, the heavens gave him a second chance. This time, he is putting his entire soul on the line to stop that clan, even if it means burning his old ideals and his ninja way to the ground. Sasuke issued one final chilling warning. Because of Naruto, even the oldest enemies of the ninja world are now fighting shoulder to shoulder. If Naruto were truly the monster you fear, believe me, none of you would be alive right now to have this conversation. As he finished his plea, Sasuke did the unthinkable. He lowered his body and pressed his forehead against the cold floor in a formal dogeza, the ultimate sign of submission and entreaty before the stunned Lord Daimyo. He begged them to trust Naruto. He explained that Naruto's warnings weren't mere threats to seize power. The Otsutsuki clan was a cosmic horror that defied human imagination. The clock is ticking, Sasuke's voice muffled against the floor. We must bury our petty grievances and use every single second to forge a ninja world that can actually survive what's coming. In the previous life, Naruto had dropped to his knees before the Raikage to beg for Sasuke's life. In this life, Sasuke cast aside his Uchiha pride and knelt before the lords to ensure Naruto's vision for the future could breathe. A heavy, absolute silence swallowed the chamber. Witnessing the world's strongest rogue ninja surrender his dignity for the sake of peace forced the lords to realize the sheer gravity of the situation. They finally relented, officially greenlighting the new shinobi system. They promised to dissolve border restrictions and pour their national treasuries into the cause. Sasuke offered his deepest gratitude. The impossible knot had been untied. This summit of the 5 daimyo became the bedrock of a new era. A month passed, and the transition became official. Overnight, the culture of the 5 great villages shifted. Shinobi stopped taking mundane D-rank and C-rank missions. Their only job 24 hours a day was to evolve. 1,000 days of training for 1 second of war, the investment began. Massive funds flooded the villages, and colossal training grounds began to sprout across the continent like monuments to survival. When Naruto eventually learned of Sasuke's dogeza, tears of pride and heartbreak welled in his eyes. He realized Sasuke had become a leader capable of commanding this single-handedly. The infrastructure was ready. Now Naruto moved to the next phase of his master plan. He established the combat consultant elite 5 gods of war, who would personally oversee the evolution of every village. The lineup was a nightmare for any potential invader. Naruto, Uzumaki, Sasuke, Uchiha, Hashirama, Senju, Obito, Uchiha, and Madara Uchiha. Madara, true to form, wasn't interested in being a babysitter. He stood with his arms folded, eyes narrowed at Naruto. Have you lost your mind? I don't have time to play house with a bunch of children. Naruto had anticipated the legendary Uchiha's ego. After a strategic barrage of praise regarding Madara's unparalleled combat genius and the challenge of molding weaklings into gods, Madara finally gave a reluctant grunt of approval. To keep things fair, Naruto produced a wooden box. The assignments were decided by drawing lots. The final map of power was set. Sasuke Uchiha was assigned to the hidden cloud, Madara Uchiha to the hidden stone, Obito Uchiha to the hidden mist, Hashirama Hashirama Senju to the hidden sand, and Naruto Uzumaki himself to the hidden leaf. 15 years flowed by like a river. In this timeline, Naruto once again married Hinata, and the household was filled with the laughter and occasional chaos of Boruto and Himawari. But peace didn't mean softness. Naruto never let his guard down for a single second. His power had surged to such heights that he could now easily solo 3 versions of his 15-year-old self simultaneously. His face retained its warmth, but his eyes held the weight and lethal precision of a true galactic guardian. By the second year of the new system, the Grand Martial Arts Tournament became the heartbeat of the world. Every village sent their 100 strongest after brutal internal qualifiers. From this elite pool, the top 10 finishers were awarded the ultimate title Tenin or Heavenly Ninja. There were only 10 seats in existence. To become a Tenin, a finalist had to challenge and defeat a sitting member. This system turned the world into a forge where young and veteran shinobi pushed their limits day and night for a chance at godhood. On the morning of the 14th annual tournament, Naruto arrived early at a small tea shop, the one place where the 5 legends could drop their titles and just be comrades. He sensed a familiar, sharp presence and smiled. "Sasuke, it's been a while." Sasuke stepped into the light. The old, jagged edge of his youth had smoothed into a calm, seasoned authority. As they began to catch up, the tea shop door was suddenly kicked off its hinges with a violent crash. Sasuke sighed, not even turning around. "Madara, 15 years and you still haven't learned how to use a doorknob." Madara strode in, radiating an aura of pure combat hunger. "Is Hashirama here yet?" he demanded, ignoring the property damage. A dark swirl of space-time manifested in the center of the room, and Obito stepped out of the rift. He looked around the table and smirked. "Looks like I'm not the last one to the party." Just as the words left his mouth, Hashirama walked through the front entrance, a beaming smile on his face that seemed to light up the entire room. The 5 most powerful beings in history were finally back in one place. The air in the tea shop was thick with a nostalgic warmth, but even in their laughter, the pressure these 5 radiated was astronomical. Compared to a decade ago, their combined strength had multiplied into something truly godlike. The time for talk ended as the horn signaled the start of the Grand Martial Arts Tournament. Under Naruto's leadership, the legendary consultants took their seats in the high referee balcony, their sharp eyes scanning the arena to judge the evolution of the new generation. Below, the matches were a blur of high-level elemental release and refined taijutsu, but suddenly the sky fractured. A massive, jagged Yomotsu Hirasaka ripped open directly above the stadium. A figure stepped out in Otsutsuki, unlike any Naruto had seen in his previous life or this one. He hovered in the air, his gaze as cold and indifferent as an Arctic night, looking down at the gathered shinobi like they were insects in a jar. Naruto's heart hammered against his ribs. His memories of the future were failing him. This entity was an anomaly, a ghost that shouldn't exist. Without a word, Naruto blurred into the sky, launching a condensed miniature-tailed beast bomb at the intruder. The Otsutsuki didn't even flinch. He let out a dry, mocking chuckle. What a boring little toy. With a casual flick of his finger, the tailed beast bomb was forcibly redirected at a 90-degree angle, screaming upward into the stratosphere until it dissipated into harmless sparks of light. Before Naruto could close the distance for a physical strike, the stranger began to drift back into his portal. His voice boomed across the entire stadium, heavy with divine arrogance. "Naruto Uzumaki, enjoy the final moments of this peace you've built, using the stolen scraps of our clan's power. It won't last." The sheer killing intent radiating from the stranger was so suffocating that the thousands of spectators in the stands forgot how to breathe, let alone run. Naruto landed back on the balcony, his knuckles white as he clenched his fists. This wasn't Momoshiki. This wasn't Shibai. This was something entirely new, a lethal consequence of the butterfly effect caused by Naruto's journey back in time. Sasuke and Obito landed beside him instantly. "You okay?" Sasuke asked, his Rinnegan already scanning the fading rift. Naruto nodded, his voice grim. "He's a new variable, and Otsutsuki always travel in pairs. There's another one lurking out there somewhere. The training era is over. It's time to mobilize the entire ninja world for total war." Meanwhile, on a dead barren planet, light years away, Momoshiki Otsutsuki and Kinshiki Otsutsuki sat atop the withered stump of a decayed divine tree. A black portal flickered open behind them. The mysterious Otsutsuki, who had just terrorized the tournament, stepped out. Momoshiki didn't even turn around, but his voice was laced with a rare hint of caution. "So," Momoshiki muttered, "did you find what you were looking for on that primitive rock, or did the fox give you more than you could handle?" The stranger narrowed his eyes, a dark smile playing on his lips as he looked toward the distant star that was Earth. The atmosphere in the ninja world shifted from festive celebration to the cold, suffocating dread of an impending impending apocalypse. Naruto, sensing the scale of this new anomaly, wasted no time. He gathered Sasuke and the core team and raced to Kaguya's residence, the only person alive who truly understood the hierarchy of the stars. Kaguya listened intently as Naruto described the intruder, the obsidian black armor plating on his forehead, and the terrifying glare of his deep black six Tomo Rinnegan. Her expression turned ghostly pale. After a long, heavy silence, she finally spoke the name, Dark Otsutsuki, the feared combat captain of the clan's vanguard. But she didn't stop there. She revealed that Dark never traveled alone. His counterpart, the vice captain Konro Otsutsuki, was his polar opposite, clad in bone-white armor with a pure white six Tomoe Rinnegan. These weren't just scouts like Momoshiki. They were high-ranked gods of war. Kaguya admitted with a tremor in her voice that even she didn't know the full extent of their abilities, only that their raw power dwarfed Momoshiki's by a staggering margin. Naruto stood frozen. He had spent 15 years preparing for the enemies he knew, but the butterfly effect had summoned titans he had never even dreamed of. With the clock ticking toward a full-scale invasion, Naruto issued the mobilization order. Every consultant retreated to their assigned villages to fortify defenses. Naruto handed each of them a specialized kunai synchronized to his chakra to serve as an instantaneous distress signal. Once the arrangements were made, Naruto sought out a desolate wasteland far from the civilian centers. Ever since he had consumed Ishiki Otsutsuki 15 years ago, the third eye on his forehead had granted him the pinnacle of Ishiki's arsenal, Sukunahi Kona and Dai Kokuten. Over the years, Naruto hadn't just been training, he had been a forge. Within the timeless stasis of the Dai Kokuten dimension, he had stored a literal mountain of high-density black receivers, giant sealing cubes, and experimental weaponry he had crafted in secret. With the Great War at his doorstep, he began the final calibration of his divine armory. Light years away on the edge of the solar system, Dauro Otsutsuki manifested behind Momoshiki and Kinshiki. The hierarchy of the Otsutsuki was absolute. Although Earth was technically Momoshiki's designated harvest zone, Dauro had been sent by the High Council to seize the mission. Outranked and intimidated by Dauro's overwhelming presence, Momoshiki and Kinshiki were forced to abandon their post, retreating toward a different quadrant of the galaxy. As they vanished, a Yomotsu Hirasaka rift spiraled open, and the white-clad Konro Otsutsuki stepped out. Dauro turned to his partner with a jagged, predatory smile. Ishiki was right. The energy concentrated on that primitive rock is delicious. The truth finally came to light. When Naruto had executed Ishiki 15 years ago, a fragment of Ishiki's soul had escaped into the cosmic void. After drifting for over a decade, he had finally reached the clan's main fleet, poisoning the ears of the combat captains with tales of the human god who had dared to consume an Otsutsuki. The hunters were no longer looking for a fruit. They were looking for Naruto Uzumaki. Even though Dauro and Konro didn't fully trust the word of Ishiki Otsutsuki, viewing him as nothing more than a defeated dog who had lost his pride, their hunger for power was absolute. In the Otsutsuki culture, data was secondary to the scent of a high-quality harvest. Whether Ishiki was exaggerating or not, the potential of a human god containing the concentrated essence of a fellow clansman was a prize they couldn't ignore. That curiosity had led Dauro to the ninja world, and the brief glimpse he'd caught during the tournament confirmed everything. The blue planet wasn't just a farm, it was a treasure chest of evolved energy. With a final sinister chuckle, the two high-ranked gods vanished into the jagged black rift of the Yomotsu Hirasaka. In the ninja world, the gears of the planetary defense system were screaming into motion. Every shinobi was at their post, and the civilian populations were being funneled into the massive underground bunkers Naruto had commissioned years ago. Naruto sat atop the highest spire of the Hidden Rain village, his sensory web spread across the continent. The warm, innocent face of the boy who once dreamt of becoming Hokage was gone, replaced by the stoic, lethal mask of a cosmic protector. His mind was a still lake, undisturbed, even as the atmosphere itself began to tremble. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. A massive space-time rift tore open the fabric of reality right above the village. Naruto's eyes snapped open. The pressure from the arriving chakra signatures was so immense it felt like the gravity of the entire planet had just doubled. He instantly signaled Minato, who used a synchronized flying thunder god, to bring Sasuke, Obito, Madara, and Hashirama to his side. In a flash of yellow light, the five tenon moved as one, a phalanx of gods intercepting the invaders at the outskirts of the village where a jagged mountain range met the stormy sky. The two sides came to a halt. The five legendary shinobi stood at the base of a massive peak, while Dauro and Konro hovered halfway up the mountainside, looking down with casual boredom. Konro adjusted his bone-white armor and let out a mocking laugh, nudging Dauro. "Look at them, brother. They're actually glaring at us, especially that blonde brat in the center. Look at the sheer venom and hatred in his eyes. It's adorable." Dauro remained silent, his black armor absorbing the dim light of the storm. He He offered nothing but a thin, predatory smirk that promised total annihilation. The wind died down. The rain stopped mid-air. The greatest war in the history of the universe was a heartbeat away from detonating. Naruto and his comrades knew that the only language the Otsutsuki respected was the force of a closed fist. Without wasting a breath on posturing, the five tenin ignited the battlefield. Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju took point, their ancient rivalry transformed into the ultimate synchronized assault. Madara's limbo border jail shadows surged forward into the invisible world, while Hashirama's wood-style multi-wood dragon erupted from the earth like a forest of living serpents. Titan-sized wooden dragons and Madara's invisible specters swarmed the invaders from every conceivable angle. A relentless barrage of physical and spiritual strikes rained down, but Daoro and Konro moved through the chaos with a terrifying liquid grace, weaving between the attacks as if they were dancing to a rhythm only they could hear. Naruto's sensory perception went into overdrive. He realized with a jolt that their raw speed and reflexes didn't just rival Ishiki Otsutsuki, they surpassed him by several magnitudes. Hashirama grit his teeth, his palms pressed together in the snake sign. How is this possible? No one should be able to slip through a net this dense. Madara remained eerily calm. At least they're dodging Hashirama. It means they feel the threat. If they weren't moving, we'd truly be in trouble. Suddenly, Konro Otsutsuki flipped the script. Mid-air, he delivered a horizontal kick that tore the atmosphere apart, launching a high-pressure air cannon directly at Naruto. Naruto reacted instantly, manifesting a truth-seeking shield, but the impact was so catastrophic that spiderweb cracks began to spider across his unbreakable defense. The team stood paralyzed for a microsecond. A casual physical strike from this vice captain carried more kinetic energy than Might Guy's evening elephant. Konro didn't stop. He spun in a continuous blur, unleashing a rapid-fire succession of air pulses that finally shattered Naruto's shield into obsidian glass. As the defense fell, Naruto triggered the flying thunder god, warping the entire team behind the two gods in a flash of yellow. Sasuke Uchiha saw the opening. His Susanoo roared into existence, its bow drawn to the breaking point. He loosed a volley of arrows, saturated with six paths chakra projectiles so fast they defied the concept of dodging. Konro merely smirked, spreading his arms wide. Susanoo, the ultimate synonym for hollow vanity. A shimmering spherical barrier erupted from his chest, halting Sasuke's arrows in mid-air as if they had hit a wall of frozen time. When the arrows failed, Naruto pivoted, triggering his third eye's Daikokuten ability to manifest massive black receivers directly inside Konro's space. But Konro's hands moved like jagged lightning. He snatched the rods out of thin air just as they expanded to impale him. Naruto's blood ran cold. Catching a Daikokuten manifest by hand meant this enemy's combat instinct had evolved beyond even the peak of Baryon mode. However, Naruto had layered his trap. Hidden on the surface of those rods were flying thunder god markers. In a burst of 10-tail speed, Naruto materialized inches from Konro's face. In his palm, a truth-seeking orb whirled into a chaotic, screaming, truth-seeking Rasengan. Caught off balance for the first time, Konro couldn't evade. The sphere connected with his gut, and the vice captain was hammered into the crust of the earth with the force of a falling moon. The ground groaned and collapsed into a mile-wide crater. From the ridge, Hashirama let out a triumphant roar. Incredible, Naruto, you nailed him! The dust hadn't even begun to settle over the crater when Daoro Otsutsuki, standing motionless on the ridge, spoke in a voice like cracking ice. You've grown sloppy, Konro. You could have phased through that strike easily, couldn't you? Konro Otsutsuki sat up amidst the rubble. His left shoulder was a mangled mess of bone and sinew, but under the golden glow of divine energy, the tissue began to knit back together with horrifying speed. Naruto Uzumaki's sudden acceleration had caught him off guard, but the predator's smile returned to his face. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. With a kinetic explosion, Konro rocketed from the debris into the clouds, spreading his arms wide. He unleashed his signature counter-offensive, 160 Shiki Kamizuki. Naruto didn't retreat. He met the assault head on their colliding chakras, creating a localized supernova in the sky. The atmosphere screamed as neither side yielded an inch. Obito Uchiha saw the opening. He flared his Susanoo into existence and loosed a barrage of Kamui shuriken directly at Konro's exposed back. Konro was now pinned, Naruto's truth-seeking pressure in front and Obito's space-warping lethality behind. It looked like a checkmate, but then a manic glint flickered in Konro's white Rinnegan. He activated his unique ocular Shinjutsu Dafun Dashin. The Kamui Shuriken, inches from shredding his spine, suddenly inverted their trajectory in midair. They didn't just bounce off. They redirected with double the velocity, screaming back toward Obito Uchiha. Obito's eyes widened in shock. He reflexively triggered intangibility, letting the warped blades pass through his ethereal form. Sasuke Uchiha stood frozen on the ground. What just happened? Did he reflect a space-time attack? Obito's tactical mind raced to a conclusion. You can't reflect a Kamui Shuriken with a physical shield. He didn't push them back. He rewrote the target of the jutsu itself. Against that power, any projectile we fire is just a suicide note. The direct clash between Naruto and Konro finally broke, sending both skidding back. On the surface, they looked evenly matched, but Naruto's lungs were burning. He had poured every ounce of his resolve into that exchange, while Konro looked like he was barely warming up. However, Konro realized he couldn't maintain dominance against 5 10-level legends indefinitely. Daoro Otsutsuki, who had been watching the entertainment with bored eyes, finally decided to step onto the board. Being the combat captain of the Otsutsuki wasn't just about raw power. It was about a tactical mind that functioned like a supercomputer. The two brothers now stood shoulder to shoulder, their combined presence warping the very fabric of reality around them. Opposing them, Sasuke, Obito, Madara, and Hashirama closed ranks around Naruto. 5 great legends versus 2 high-rank gods. The Great War had finally reached its absolute zenith. The burning question remained. Exactly how high did the ceiling of this new Otsutsuki's power go? Naruto Uzumaki's first priority was data. He needed to peel back the layers of the enemy's Shinjutsu before committing his main force. With a roar that shook the foundations of the mountains, Naruto unleashed a multi-shadow clone jutsu on a scale that defied logic. 100,000 golden clones flooded the battlefield in a tidal wave of shimmering chakra. Obito Uchiha stared in disbelief. Even as a 10-tails Jinchuriki, maintaining 100,000 high-density clones was a feat that should have been impossible. Naruto glanced at him with a sharp, determined smirk. In these 15 years, I've pushed my chakra reserves to match the 10-tails itself. This is my true baseline now. The Golden Army swarmed Konro and Daoro. Konro's composure slipped for a moment. This is a nuisance. Even if I delete 100 clones per strike, I'll be exhausted before I reach the original. But Daoro Otsutsuki didn't look worried. He offered a lazy, arrogant smile and spread his arms wide, drawing in the ambient energy of the atmosphere. Within seconds, a massive void opened behind him, pulsing with a gray, oceanic shockwave. As the wave washed over the battlefield, Naruto's clones didn't just pop, they disintegrated into gray ash. When the dust settled, only 3,000 clones remained of the 100,000-strong army. Naruto didn't flinch. He had seen what he needed to see. Through the sensory feedback of his fallen clones, Naruto analyzed Daoro's left eye. It possessed an auto-evade Shinjutsu, a passive ability that sensed incoming threats and automatically shifted Daoro's molecular position to safety. But Naruto's tactical mind, honed by his battle with pain, spotted the flaw. The ability had a 3-second cooldown. To land a hit, the Tenin would have to coordinate 2 perfect high-speed strikes within that 3-second window. Following a lightning-fast mental conference, the team launched a synchronized gambit. Hashirama and Madara surged forward to pin Konro down, isolating the captain. Obito opened the engagement, firing a high-speed Kamui distortion at Daoro's head. As predicted, the auto-evade triggered. Daoro vanished without warning and reappeared 10 meters to the left. Obito smirked. The 3-second clock had started. Instantly, Naruto and Sasuke blurred into motion. Sasuke triggered Amanotejikara, forcibly swapping the air in front of him with Daoro's body, dragging the captain directly into their kill zone. From the left, Naruto's truth-seeking Rasengan screamed. From the right, Sasuke's 6 paths. Chidori crackled with purple lightning. Daoro was boxed in. Daoro looked at them both, his black Rinnegan shimmering with cold amusement. So, you've decoded my left eye. Brave, but do you really think it's that simple? Your movements, they are like slow motion to me. In a display of raw, physical speed that bypassed the need for Shinjutsu, Daoro's hands blurred. Before the Rasengan or Chidori could connect, he snatched Naruto and Sasuke by their wrists with a crushing grip. With a casual, brutal flick, he hurled them both backward like rag dolls. Mid-air, Naruto didn't give up. He triggered his third eye's Daikokuten, launching a volley of invisible black receivers to impale the stationary captain, but the 3 seconds were up. The rods whistled through empty air as Daoro vanished, his passive evasion coming back online just as the sun broke through the storm clouds. Daoro Otsutsuki's passive skill flickered, and in a blur of displaced atoms, he vanished. Naruto's first calculated wave of attack met nothing but empty air. The god of war reappeared a few meters away, a predatory sneer twisting his features. "My turn," Daoro whispered. The temperature on the battlefield seemed to drop. Daoro's right eye locked onto Obito Uchiha. He admitted with with a cold, analytical tone that while Obito's chakra reserves were unremarkable, his Kamui was a persistent headache that needed to be cured. Obito felt a primal shiver crawl up his spine. He lunged backward, but he was already in the crosshairs. Daoro's right eye possessed a shinjutsu that perfectly complemented his left. Absolute hit. Daoro flicked an all-killing ash bone into the sky. Like a sentient missile, the bone curved mid-air, tracking Obito's heat signature with impossible speed. Obito realized he couldn't outrun it and instantly triggered intangibility, shifting his physical mass into the Kamui dimension, but reality buckled. As Obito's body entered the pocket dimension, the ash bone mysteriously manifested inside the Kamui space simultaneously. It drove straight through Obito's chest. In the physical world, Obito's form began to crumble into gray ash. The Tenon watched in frozen horror. Daoro's eye could bridge dimensions to ensure a strike never missed its mark. Without even a moment for a final word, Obito dissolved into a pile of dust. "See?" Daoro mocked, turning toward Naruto and Sasuke. Erasure is such a simple, elegant process. His gaze then shifted to Sasuke. Sensing the killing intent, Naruto didn't hesitate. He used Flying Thunder God to warp to Sasuke's side and slammed a specialized smoke bomb into the ground. A thick, chakra-dense cloud erupted, obscuring Daoro's vision. Naruto knew from years of fighting alongside and against dojutsu users that breaking line of sight was the only way to disrupt an absolute hit lock-on. But smoke was a stalling tactic, not a solution. "Is Obito truly gone?" Sasuke asked, his voice thick with grief. Naruto's face was a mask of grim focus. "It looked like it, but something feels off." Suddenly, Daoro lunged through the smoke, his hand reaching for Sasuke's throat, but before he could connect, a dark silhouette materialized directly in his path. "Sorry to disappoint you," a heavy, familiar voice echoed. Daoro recoiled in genuine shock. Standing there whole and defiant was Obito Uchiha. Obito launched a Kamui shuriken at point-blank range. Daoro's auto-evade triggered, instantly teleporting him back to a safe distance. But Obito had layered the strike. Hidden in the shadow of the first shuriken was a second, faster blade. It pursued Daoro with relentless precision. Daoro twisted mid-air with god-like agility, dodging the second blade manually. By the time the shuriken looped back, his 3-second cooldown had expired, and his passive evasion flicked him to safety once more. Naruto and Sasuke rushed to Obito's side. Sasuke's Sharingan instantly decoded the truth. Obito had triggered Izanagi to rewrite his own death, a miracle that had cost him the sight in one eye. The eye was now clouded and blind, but Naruto stepped forward, his palm glowing with the warmth of yang release. He placed his hand over Obito's sightless eye. In a surge of restorative light, the blindness vanished, and the eye was restored to its full lethal brilliance. In theory, as long as Naruto stood by his side, Obito now possessed an infinite loop of Izanagi. He had become a ghost that even death couldn't claim. For the next several minutes, the battlefield turned into a surreal loop of divine execution and rebirth. Daoro Otsutsuki launched strike after lethal strike at Obito Uchiha, each one an absolute hit designed to erase him from existence. Yet every single time, Obito flickered out and reappeared using Izanagi to rewrite his death into a mere illusion. Daoro's black Rinnegan pulsed with irritation. He realized the tactical deadlock. As long as Naruto Uzumaki acted as a living battery of yang release, instantly restoring Obito's blinded eyes, Obito was functionally immortal. To kill the ghost, he first had to kill the medic. Suddenly, a thick, unnatural white fog swallowed the landscape. Naruto had initiated a massive hidden mist jutsu. He knew that even Shinjutsu required a visual lock or a mental focus to guarantee an absolute hit. By saturating the air with chakra-infused mist, he was blinding the gods. Daoro surged into the fog, his predatory instincts screaming, but he couldn't pin down a single silhouette. "He's closing in!" Naruto's voice echoed through the mist, acting as a beacon for his team. In that same heartbeat, Naruto triggered his third eye's Daikokuten. From the heavens, colossal black cubes began to rain down. These weren't just heavy weights. They were the same sensory-jamming monoliths Ishiki had used, now amplified by Naruto's Ten Tails chakra. Daoro's ability to feel the battlefield vanished instantly. The massive cubes crunched into the earth, creating a shifting, claustrophobic labyrinth that forced the combat captain to retreat. A few kilometers away, the secondary front was just as chaotic. Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha were locked in a stalemate with Konro Otsutsuki. Konro stared at the mountain of black cubes falling in the distance, momentarily distracted. Hashirama seized the opening, clapping his hands together. Sage art wood style true. Several thousand hands. An avatar of 1,000 wooden arms rose behind him, launching a barrage of fist strikes that blotted out the sun. Conro didn't move. He activated his white Rinnegan's Daifon Dashin. The 1,000 fists, mid-swing, suddenly curved in the air, tracking back toward Hashirama. With redirected malice, Hashirama somersaulted backward, summoning a 9-fold Rashomon barrier to tank his own redirected power. Amidst the splintering wood, Madara lunged from the shadows. His 6-armed Susanoo brandished ethereal blades aimed at Conro's throat, but Conro's second eye glowed. He activated a new Shinjutsu, Daofu Dashin. In a split second, Madara's body froze in midair. His Susanoo flickered and evaporated into blue sparks. The concentric circles of his Rinnegan smoothed out, becoming dull and lifeless. "What is this?" Madara gasped, unable to even twitch a finger. Conro let out a sharp, melodic laugh. "You can't move, can you? Daofu Dashin isn't a simple paralysis. It's a total chakra lockdown. While you're in my sight, your pathways are frozen solid. You are no longer a ninja, just a statue." This was the hard counter to Obito's Izanagi and Naruto's healing. If the chakra can't flow, the jutsu can't activate. Conro manifested a black receiver and stepped toward the paralyzed Madara, aiming for the skull. Just as the rod was inches from impact, the earth erupted. Hashirama's deep forest emergence roots coiled around Conro's limbs like iron pythons, dragging him off balance. The physical distraction broke Conro's visual focus. Madara's chakra surged back to life. He instantly swapped places, with a limbo clone reappearing a safe distance away, breathing heavily. The Otsutsuki were not just masters of physical combat. Their Shinjutsu and Dojutsu created a tactical nightmare that rendered individual strength meaningless. Sasuke and Madara's plan to divide and conquer had failed the moment Conro shattered Hashirama's restraints and blinked to Daro's side. As the dust swirled, the 5 legends regrouped. The Black and White brothers were a riddle written in divine chakra, but Naruto Uzumaki was done playing defense. It was time to liquidate his 15-year investment.